morning. Welcome to CAP Tulsa's Kindergarten Transition Panel for the program term 2021-2022. My name is Felicia Detheridge. I'm the Director over Quality Assurance and Special Services, and I will be hosting today along with Miriam Conley from CAP Tulsa as our ECP Data Specialist. To quickly go over our agenda and what we'll be covering today, we will be focused on the readiness to school success, going over a couple different domains and how we can best support you and your family to ensure school success for your child. After that, we do have representatives from some of our Tulsa area schools. We will be doing panelist introductions and then going into some frequently asked questions regarding transitions into the public school. At the end, then we will go over any additional questions or topics that we have not covered and be able to also post this online after the fact in case any kind of reference is needed at a later date. You'll be able to find all information, including a transcript and translations of our conversation today. So with that said, I do want to say that we do have an interpretation setting to hear this session in Spanish. And with that, I will let Ivan introduce himself. After he introduces himself for the Spanish channel, you will be able to see this icon that looks like the little globe down at the bottom of your screen. You can select that and it'll give you the option to tune into the language preferred for the duration of this session. Ivan, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ivan. I will be your Spanish interpreter for today. If there's any Spanish speaking attendees in the Zoom meeting, I can when speaking. And if I ever fall behind or need you to slow down, I will raise my hand as such on the Zoom, and that will be the signal to please help me out with pacing yourselves or just slowing down for a little bit. Mi nombre es Iván Godínez, voy a ser el intérprete del día de hoy. Si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor tengan confianza de añadirla en la cajita del chat para poder clarificar cualquier pregunta que lleguen a tener. Thank you all.
Thank you. You will also notice that you have an opportunity to submit any questions using the Q&A button down at the bottom. It is to the left of the chat box, and questions can also be submitted anonymously. At the end of our frequently asked questions section, we will then address all questions that are sent through this portal. Also, you will notice a chat box at the bottom of your screen. You are able to message at any point in time the moderators or interpreters for assistance. If you need any help technology related, we'll be able to get that, help you out in that way. And you will also notice the interpretation channel has now been enabled. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie Keel so she can give you a little bit more information on our CAP Connect program.
Hello, good morning. My name is Julie Keel, and I am the Alumni Specialist for the CAP Connect program. The CAP Connect program is being offered for families whose children have recently graduated from CAP and have entered the public school system. And the program is comprised of monthly virtual visits that focus on the child's development and educational outcomes. And other things that are discussed in the monthly visits are home routines, homework help, tips for homework, tutoring, could be uniform assistance, parent-teacher conferences, anything related to the school and or family needs. Families are also able to connect with each other in monthly group connections that are offered, and they are either adult focused or child focused. And the adult focus, they have the opportunity to meet other alumni parents and share. And the child-focused group connections, the children are able to participate in fun learning activities. The program, it just hopes to ensure that the child's success in school continues and that those program gains from the years being in the CAP school are sustained throughout the child's academic years.
Thank you so much, Julie. So before we begin our panel discussion, we would like to talk briefly about how parents can reinforce their child's readiness to ensure success in elementary school. So kindergarten readiness is the concept used to describe the domains of a child's early learning development as it relates to preparedness for school. So readiness domains include academics, or how the child learns how to study and reason; health and wellness, so a child's physical and mental well-being; self-care skills, how well a child can groom and feed themselves; and also the domain of social emotional development, which is how well the child manages their emotions, and also the capacity of the child to develop meaningful relationships. So development across each readiness domain can be reinforced with parent support. So for example, parents can continue to strengthen their child's early learning, math and literacy skills by fostering curiosity, comprehension, and communication in language arts, math, science, and social studies. And that development can also be sustained in other domains by staying up to date on your child's routine checkups. So that's health screenings and appointments, and also preparing healthy meals and snacks to support health and wellness. You can also use meal times and bedtime routines to model self-care activities and teach kids how to carry out daily tasks. And you can also seek out extracurricular opportunities for learning and connection to help them sustain social emotional development. So in addition to those supports that we've just discussed, attendance is also super impactful on school success. So it's important that your child attend school regularly in kindergarten to help them acclimate to their new school environment. Chronic absenteeism, or missing 18 days or more of school, can impact a child's ability to build relationships with teachers and classmates. Missing 2 school days each month can also affect a child's ability to develop those essential literacy skills. And tardiness can also be a way that leads, or something that leads to increased absences. And so unexcused absences and tardies can really disrupt the child's whole class and their progress. Yeah, so with that, we'll move into panelist introductions. Starting with Sand Springs Public Schools.
Hello, my name is Carrie Schlehuber. I am the Special Education Director and the Enrollment Center Director for Sand Springs Schools.
Hi, I'm Karen Biggs. I am the principal at Pratt Elementary in Sand Springs, where I'm one of 5 elementary sites here in Sand Springs. And I've been a principal for 9 years now in Sand Springs.
Hi, I'm Chanda Richardson. I'm with Union Public Schools. I am a certified school psychologist. I've been working with the district for 5 years now. This is my first year to work in our early childhood development curriculum program. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And unfortunately, our guest from Broken Arrow Public Schools was not able to attend today. So our panel discussion today will be framed around 8 frequently asked questions. After the discussion of those questions, panelists will answer questions from the chat box. And so with that, we'll get into question number 1. What is your district or program's enrollment process? And can you complete that process without a state or federally issued identification card? And so Shanda, would you like to start with this question?
Sure. We have online enrollment that is handled. We have a enrollment center that's at 61st and Mingo area here in Tulsa. And our enrollment, you can either go there in person and you can, or you can do it online. You can scan and upload the documents if that's more convenient. Also, you do have to have 2 proofs of residence, so utility bills or something like that with your name in it before you enroll. And to be honest, I'm not sure if you can enroll without a state or federally issued identification card. My initial reaction would be no, you cannot, because we have to have that documentation along with the birth certificate of the child.
Thank you, Shanda. And that's something that we can always, after this call has been recorded and uploaded, if you have any additional questions, we'll be happy at transitions@captulsa.org to collect that information for you. Thank you.
I can speak for Sand Springs. For our enrollment process, it's very similar. You can meet at our enrollment center in person. We have a full-time staff there that are all in place simply to help parents with the enrollment process. That can also be done online. And so if a student was enrolling for kindergarten for next year, we open that enrollment in March. And that's when everything will go live on the website as far as the 2022-2023 school year. We do have a requirement for a birth certificate. We have a requirement for a utility bill. And then we do ask for an identification card simply because, number one, we need proof that they are the guardian. If they don't have an identification card, we could certainly work with them in other ways. But if someone's showing up at the school later to pick a student up, we would want to certainly make sure that we were sending that child with the right person. So that's the reason that we really ask for identification. Also, if a guardian had court documents that shows that perhaps they weren't on the birth certificate, but they are the current guardian, we also ask for those court documents so that we can make sure again that the right person has access to the child.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for sharing that.
And can I speak to just one aspect of enrollment as well? I was visiting with our school site nurse yesterday, and I shared with her the enrollment process and that would be a topic of discussion. And she said to please, make sure that because of the kindergarten students enrolling, we will need to have an immunization record to show that they're current on their immunization shots. So that was one thing she wanted me to make sure I said.
Thank you, Karen. So our second question is, what is your district or program's attendance policy?
Well, I will speak just from the Sand Springs as a principal, and you spoke to this earlier on your presentation when you said, chronically absent is classified as 18 days for the school year. And sometimes kindergarten families, if the kindergartner is the oldest child, sometimes parents don't realize how important kindergarten is. And, sometimes it's that old mindset of they just play all day, but they don't. There's so many foundational skills that are learned during kindergarten. Attendance is huge. It's a big piece to building that strong foundation. So yes, we would never want a child to miss 18 days during the school year, but we also have for our city ordinance, it's 12 days per semester is what we really monitor and try and, they need to be here 85% of the time. And so, we never like to do this, but we really monitor that closely. And when we see families that are struggling with those attendance issues, we reach out, we contact them to report truancy. So it does go into effect for kindergartners as well. So
it's really interesting because I didn't know that truancy laws also apply to kindergartners. I always think about it through like the lens of high school students. So thank you for sharing that, Karen. Shanda?
And yes, we at Union, I would just follow up with what Ms. Biggs from Sand Springs says. That policy is the same, and we work very hard to communicate with our families and support their ability to, attend school. Again, as you said in your presentation, how important consistent attendance is, not just for the student to develop the skills they need, but for the rest of the class, because it changes the dynamic when one student is out. And so that consistency is very important for littles to develop the skills that they need to be successful. Work with our families, but we also do report truancy for the days that our families are not here. And if we have 10 consecutive days of non-attendance without contact, we will automatically drop a student.
Thank you. So our next question, question 3, is how does your district or program support children with special needs? And Felicia, would you like to give a little bit of background of how children are supported in the program? And then we'll open it up for the public schools to answer about how that process continues.
Absolutely. So here at CAP Tulsa, we are a fully inclusive program. Anytime that a child needs any kind of adaptive equipment or accommodations, we definitely consult with anything that may already be in their IEP plan, or even if they have a 504, we work with the school district as it stands now to be able to provide those types of supports in the classroom amongst their typical developing peers. And so we do formulate those plans with guidance from all areas, from our parents to our school leaders and the public schools as it starts now. And a huge part of this transition event is to also ensure that they feel comfortable knowing what to expect and going to the public school, as we know that a lot of the settings have the potential to be different. And so we also would like to discuss any kind of similarities that they may experience, as well as anything they may be able to expect being different in those types of settings. So we try to help, if we know of anything ahead of time, then we try to provide even if it's similar equipment, for example, if once there are shared kiddos, so that way they also feel, the child feels more comfortable in that transition from the different settings. And there's a I guess we'll kick it back to Chanda, just because I'm used to working with her in this capacity, and be able to maybe share with our parents what they can expect that looks similar to what they've already experienced here at CAP, and then maybe what might be different once they move into the public setting.
We have several programs, the parent, and make sure that we're supporting the kid in their least restrictive environment, which means we're giving the amount of support that's necessary for them to be successful. So we have some self-isolation setting, which is what typically you guys would see at CAP. So that would kind of be consistent along those lines as far as getting the support they need, the speech services or collaboration services to support their child in the regular education setting. But we also have the availability to provide a more restrictive environment that's got some more intense supports for students that might need that. The IEP, the paperwork is probably going to look the same for the state of Oklahoma. If a student, once they turn 3 and make that transition, then they're going to have that IEP. So that paperwork is going to look familiar. And the team members may be a little bit different, because we try to make sure that everyone's involved. But once they get into, say, kindergarten or pre-K, then we make sure that we have all of the components of the team, everyone is present, and it's a collaborative effort to develop the program that's going to best suit the child's needs.
Thank you so much, Chanda.
For Sand Springs, I would just say Chanda's on the exact same track that we are. I will say we work very hard in Sand Springs to serve students at their home neighborhood school. So for example, Ms. Biggs is the principal at Pratt. If a kindergartner was coming in on an IEP or with needs, our first goal would be to try to serve them at Pratt Elementary, unless their needs were significant enough that they needed to be in a very specialized program. So like Chanda said, we do have self-contained programs for our students who have the most significant cognitive and perhaps physical disabilities. So that could lend itself to a child going to a school that's not necessarily what you would label their neighborhood school, necessarily be out of the way. And we certainly provide special education transportation in those cases as well for a student that would be bused to a school that is not their neighborhood school. But I agree with Chanda, it's been their entire day in a special education classroom, all the way to a student who is in full-time general ed with maybe a special ed teacher or a special ed paraprofessional coming in to offer them assistance in the classroom.
And just
Karen.
to follow up with that, I'm sorry, is that, any services that are provided on that IEP, the related services would be provided at the school, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech and language therapy services would be provided at the school site as well, wherever the child ends up attending.
And I would just like to add, I guess maybe from the principal standpoint, one thing I love that we do in Sand Springs is that we have transition meetings before school ever even ends. So we may have a pre-K child or a CAP, 4-year-old, and I know that they're coming to my building the next year to join us in kindergarten. We're so excited for them to be with us. So now we are able to do Zoom meetings, so that's wonderful. But we can go over with the pre-K teacher and understand better what we need to do to make that child's transition so much smoother. And it helps so much to know and have those notes already in place so that you can welcome that child and make them feel part of that classroom. Even though there may be some areas that are going to need some special attention, and that's okay. We love that. So I love our transition meetings. And I love, Chanda, you said you're a school psychologist. I love working with our school psychologists because they know those babies. They know them. They know what, how to best serve them, and they can relay that information to us and just carry through with that information and knowledge. So that's the principal standpoint of that one.
Thank you. So our next question is, what accommodations are made for children with health needs or dietary restrictions, and what documents are necessary? And we talked a little bit about immunizations at the beginning. So Karen, since you were the last to speak, would you like to elaborate on a few more that we might need?
Sure. Again, I spoke with the nurse because I felt like that would be the best route to take. But in Sand Springs, and I'm sure it's the same in other districts, but there are, lots of paperwork to fill out. If you have a child that needs some accommodations when it comes to their health needs or dietary restrictions, either one, there are forms that we want to do whatever is best for your child. So we want to know as detailed information as you can give us. The nurse said even specifically, like if your child has a health need, maybe they're, asthmatic or they have allergies to certain things, we need to know literally what you want us to do in this situation that, your child's in a crisis situation. Details. Do you want us to call you immediately? Do you want us to try 3 things first before we call it? So that was definitely one of the keys, but it's again, a team effort, a team decision. We will meet with parents, whether it's a health or dietary area, and we will discuss as a team what's best for your child. And you need to be part of that as a parent. And so we want you to be part of that. You know your child better than we do. So it's just one of those things where we come together as a team. We'll discuss all the options, problem solve together. And then if, sometimes there's even a situation where a 504 might be the best route to take to make sure everything's in place for your child. Not always, it depends on the situation, but obviously documentation from a physician is always going to be key, especially if it's a pretty severe situation. Those diagnoses and those will be so important to the team to help make those best decisions. And sometimes the doctors will even give their input on what details need to take place, the health plan for that child. And then of course, obviously, if it's a dietary issue, then we're going to get our cafeteria staff involved, and they will need to know what needs to take place. Classroom teachers will need to know what snacks can or cannot be served in the classroom and all those things. But definitely a team, definitely something, you know, if you have a 4-year-old that's coming into a public school, let them know. Don't just wait and, oh, I'll tell them about it after school gets started. We need to know those health or dietary restrictions immediately before school ever starts, so that we can be always on alert for it, and we know how to react when something does happen.
I would echo that same sentiment with the addition of the fact that once the child completes enrollment, that's one set of documents. But then when they get in school, there are a lot of building, at least here at Union, building. We have 13 elementaries. So there's some district consistency, but each classroom teacher may request a different form of the form be filled out by the parent so that they have a classroom log. I know that if we are administering any medication, there are special forms that need to be filled out. There's counting pills, and it's a big process that the nurse gets brought in on, that's coordinated with the parent. But again, those physicians' documents or doctor's orders are key to making sure that the team is supporting the child, whether, as Ms. Biggs said, it's a 504 plan or an individual health care plan, depending on the needs of the child.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really loved hearing about how each district is going about celebrating parents as their primary caregiver and the child's primary caregiver and primary educator as well. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. So our next question is, how can families access resources for uniforms and school supplies? And Shanda, would you like to get us started?
Sure. The uniform part at Union is easy. We don't have a uniform requirement. As far as the school supplies, that again, as I mentioned earlier, we have 13 elementaries. Some of our sites are title sites, and those school supplies are provided to every student, regardless of their income or need. And other sites are not, so the parent would be responsible. We do have community resources that will help support. Our counselors are an integral part of that team, and they can help set our families up with resources. Some of our sites have community coordinators who can help get the supplies, school supplies needed. And then we also have what we call a JOM program, and that's for students who have Native American heritage, and those supplies are provided through that program.
And I can speak to Sand Springs. Ms. Biggs, you can jump in too. We also do not have uniforms, so that is not a concern that parents have to worry about for Sand Springs. School supplies, we have a strong alliance in our community. We have a program through Sand Springs Community Services that helps provide school supplies for students. Our Indian education program does also provide school supplies. And then we also have a really vibrant ministerial alliance in Sand Springs, and the church community within Sand Springs provides school supplies, backpacks, and anything necessary that the students would need in the classroom. One thing that we do in Sand Springs also is the school supply lists are on our district website. And so you can go to each school, click on that school, and then it will take you to each class or each grade level supplies. And we also provide those in a kiosk type format at Sand Springs Walmart, so that when parents come in to buy school supplies, they can grab the list for their school and their grade. Ms. Biggs, you probably can add to that.
Actually, you all hit everything. But yes, I mean, sometimes it's overwhelming to the schools, because we get so many donations, even from, you know, researchers, or the bank might have a back to school drive. So we have those extra school supplies on hand. And so really, truly, parents just need to understand that if they will reach out to the school that their child will be attending, we'll take care of them. I mean, I'm pretty, you know, I can pretty much speak for every school, elementary school in this state of Oklahoma, but we're going to take care of those babies. So all they need to do is just pick up the phone and call the school and say, can you tell me some places that I should go for backpack drives, or can you help me? And you'll be taken care of. I guarantee it.
Thank you. So our next question is, does your district or program offer parent associations? How can families volunteer? And Karen, would you like to get us started?
Sure, I will. You know, our school has a very, very active PTO organization here at our site, and most of the sites here in Sand Springs do. So it's always easy. Beginning of the year, you'll see information about joining the PTO or whatever kind of organization the school might have at where your neighboring school is. So it's always easy to just be a part of that, join. And now with Facebook, you know, being so prevalent that our classes use them. And so it's nice to just jump on a class Facebook page to be able to see what your child is doing. But they have PTO Facebook pages, or the school site will have a website or the Facebook pages. We just want to be able to put enough information out there so that parents at any time can be knowledgeable of what's happening in the buildings, and they can be a part of that. Of course, COVID has kind of put, you know, a little bit of a damper on being able to volunteer, but we'll get there. We'll get back to that, and we'll be able to have parents coming in, volunteering to, whether it's, you know, listening to other students in the room read, or working on letters and sounds, things like that, or it may even be that the teacher needs, you know, 25 hearts cut out. And if you're willing to do that, they can send those home with you. You can cut them out at home and then send them right back to school. There's lots of ways to get involved. Just reach out to the teacher and ask, and just say, I would love to help you. What can I do? I guarantee they'll put you to work.
And I don't have much to add to that. I think she summed that up beautifully. We have our building parent-teacher associations or organizations at each site, all the way even up through our freshman academy and high school. So reach out, get involved, and we send flyers home. And again, Facebook, the wonderful way to connect.
Thank you. So that leads us to our next question. How do families engage with teachers, and what technology is used? So we've talked a little bit about how parents can be engaged through social media. If you guys would elaborate a bit more on that engagement, please. And Chanda, could you get us started?
Sure. We, you know, Facebook, we also have Remind apps here where parents can sign up to receive reminder texts. We have parent-teacher conferences twice a year. Some of our sites have special family like STEM nights that are, you know, the science, technology, engineering, and math. And to reach out so that parents can come up to the schools and see what their children are doing in the science realm. And also, if the parents can't attend that night, I know that some of our sites will send packets home of projects that the parents can do with their kiddos at their house. So if they're still unsure about engaging in large group activities, they have things that they can do with their kids at home. Let's see, email lists, and those kinds of things are the best way for our parents and teachers to be involved. And, you know, to kind of loop it around, since I'm the school psych and I'm in the special ed, is we really try to make sure that our parents of our special needs kids are included as well. And, you know, the one good thing about COVID is that it brought us Zoom. So we have Zoom parent-teacher conferences for parents that don't feel comfortable attending in person. We also have that flexibility for our students with special needs to go over their progress or to develop their IEPs and collaborate on their programming.
Thank you.
And I think that she has mentioned just about every single thing she could name off that we do as well. You know, and again, because of Zoom or Google Meets is what Sand Springs typically uses, but it is, you know, if let's say your child is on distant learning and, you know, they've been exposed and so you feel more safe with your child to be at home for a while, you know, parents are more than welcome to engage with teachers during those Google Meets or during the Zoom meetings, but, you know, but be sure to have your child stay connected to those teachers, even if you are out on a break. That way they can still be part of the classroom, even if they might not be able to be there in person. She mentioned the STEAM nights, but you know, a lot of schools as well do Title I nights, but it's the same concept. It's a literacy event, and we invite all parents to be there, be part of it. So it helps parents get in the building, you know, when that's possible, and be able to see what's happening and what's going on. And that way you get to be engaged more with the school and with the individual teachers of your child.
I'll also add from the enrollment side of things, when parents enroll their students, one of the questions we ask is if they want to be included in text messages or robo automated voice calls for different things. And so that gives parents an opportunity, as far as technology goes, you know, that they get a message that says, no school tomorrow, it's a snow day. Or we've even had messages this year that have said, you know, bus route 404 is running 15 minutes behind, so that parents are aware of things that are going on in real time. So that is another way that technology is used with our parents, and the enrollment process is where they're able to sign up for that.
Thank you. It's really great to hear how you guys are leveraging technology and community just to help parents be a bit more involved in the school community. So our next question is, how can families enroll their children in before and after care? And Carrie, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I'm probably going to pass this to Ms. Biggs, but we currently we do not have before care at this time in Sand Springs, but we do have aftercare at our elementary sites. 2 of those sites, it is a program that is done through the Reading Sufficiency Act. And so it is more, you have to qualify for that program. So these are students that need some extra work in that regard. But at the other 3 sites, it's an aftercare program that is really on a first come, first serve basis. There's an application process, and there are different individuals within the school and even within our community that we have hired to work in those after school programs. And even in those programs, they're still working on learning loss. They're still trying to work on kids, on the gaps that kids have in education. And one really fun thing that we've been able to do with Sand Springs, we have a really strong ICAP program at our high school, where we are working to get our high school juniors and seniors really involved in career planning. And so we have some high school age students who come to the elementary schools, and they actually work the after school program. And so that's been a neat partnership between our older students and our younger students. Because let's face it, the kids in after school are going to have a lot more fun with the high school kids than their teacher again in the afternoon. But Ms. Biggs, you want to build on that a little bit, since you do that at your site?
Yes, I absolutely love that we do have one of the high school students that comes over, and she really enjoys it. The kids love her. But as far as enrolling, and Carrie pretty much hit everything there, but just as far as enrolling, we just have, like here at Pratt, we have a flyer that hangs on the front door all the time, and it has a QR code. So parents can literally walk up with their phone, take a QR code picture and enroll their kid right there on their phone. And so, within, depending on the capacity of the program, that child could potentially start, the next week or something and stay after school. Our after school program goes until pickup is at 5. And so it's a really nice, and it's free right now. So it's convenient for parents. It's been really, really helpful. We've had a lot of parents very thankful for that. So.
That's wonderful that you guys are able to support your parents like that. We do have some high school volunteers here at Union. I don't know that it's as coordinated as sounds like it may be at Sand Springs. We have what's called the EDP, it's Extended Day Program. We have before school care and after school care. And if I'm not, the hours are approximately 6:30 to 6 o'clock. So 6:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. And you enroll online. You can also go to each site, elementary site, and enroll the program that way. Again, because it's a day program after school, they work on homework, they work on remediating those skills if they're lacking anything. A lot of educational learning activities, games, and things like that are what the kiddos here at Union participate in. And every site has an EDP program, our elementary sites.
Thank you so much. So our next question will be those from, if we received any questions from the chat.
No, at this time, there have not been any questions submitted from the chat. I think that we have probably covered a lot of good ground and gained a lot of good information. So thank you so much for your insight and all those responses to our frequently asked questions.
Okay. So it's been an absolute pleasure having all of today's panelists speak and share more information about their kindergarten programs. So we would like to thank everyone who will watch this live session on CAP's YouTube page and those who may have been able to attend this live session intermittently. So for more information on how you can support your child's transition to kindergarten, please contact transitions@captulsa.org. So we want to thank everyone for their time today and encourage everyone to enjoy the rest of their day. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.